Good day, everyone, and welcome to Women in Data Science, Trinidad and Tobago's Data to Dashboards Upskill Workshop Series. This is the second of our two-part workshop series. I am Dr. Leticia Addison. I'm the WiDS TT, as we call it for short, ambassador. And in today's workshop, we are going to talk about building interactive reports using Power BI. So before we get into it, and for those of you who may be new to our channel and new to Women in Data Science in general, just giving you a little bit of a background, WIDS for short elevates women in data science globally. We celebrate, inspire, educate, and support through extensive programming. We have conferences, for instance, the Stanford conference, which was part of how we started in 2015 in the global level, has grown tremendously with regional events and international events with over 100,000 participants. There is also a global datathon, which takes place annually and is based on a global impact challenge. And this year's challenge is based on data regarding fires in the US and their data sets. For those of you who are interested in participating, you can go on the WIDS global website to be able to look into that in a larger way. We also host podcasts, WIDS Next Gen events for the younger generation, and workshops and webinars. Of course, there are global ambassadors around the world, and in Trinidad and Tobago, we have our team where we also host workshops and regional events, forums, outreach, and community events to be able to put persons into the field and have them understand what are the tools they require. So from our neck of the woods, we are the WIDS TT team, and we really host independent events to encourage participation in not only the Global Data Challenge, but also overall in terms of data science as it relates to supporting data literacy at all levels. And while we do support women and girls, our events are open to all. And as you can see through this workshop series, we also have more events which we have hosted in the past where we started from since 2022 until present. And you can jump into our website at widstt.com for more information on our events. For those of you who may be new and join us for the first time, also want to just give you a very quick snapshot of what data science is. It has origins in mathematics, statistics, and computer science. And of course, in the current ecosystem, as we could see, there are a lot of other concepts that are involved, including machine learning, artificial intelligence, and even Internet of Things. And what we think about in terms of data science is the art of turning data into meaningful insights and actions, and really and truly using data mining, cleansing, analysis, visualization, and actionable insight generation. So all our workshops, we usually try to put in these different aspects of the data lifecycle so you can see how things go from just on paper in terms of data in quotes on paper to real life in terms of applications. Now, in terms of our workshop today, based on the use of the Power BI tool or Microsoft Power BI, for those of you who know, we have two workshop mentors who are going to take you through the proceedings today. Our first is Miss Kayla Boyce, and we also have Mr. Nicholas Smith, who is also joining us. Some of you may know Nicholas from some of our previous workshops. And I will hand over the floor to both of them to give you an overview of who they are before we get started. So let me stop sharing my screen and have Kayla and Nicholas join us. And just note that this is a very interactive workshop, so feel free to ask your questions in the chat as we go along. And of course, our mentors will answer you. It's a really nice timed workshop in terms of pace, so we have enough time for questions as we go along. So I'll ask Kayla to give you a little bit about herself before she gets started, and then Nicholas. Kayla, you want to tell them a little bit about who you are?
Hi, sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kayla Boyce. I'm currently a student at the University of the West Indies pursuing my bachelor's in computer science. Um, I have always been a really huge fan of, the field of IT and computer science, but very recently, as in last year, I kind of started venturing a little bit into data science and I started working on my portfolio over the last couple of months, bit by bit. So here I am in a workshop here, very excited to present what I have learned so far to you and show you what I know so that I can help you get to where you want to be.
Thanks so much for that, Kayla. And just letting you know, this is Kayla's first time presenting with us, and we're really happy to have her. She's one of our newer contributors and volunteers in the WiDS team. So really excited to have her here. So thanks, Kayla. So next we go to Nicholas, a little bit about you.
Sure. Thanks. So you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Nicholas Smith, and I'm currently a part-time tutor at UE under the Department of Computer and Information Technology, so DCIT. I am also a contract software engineer with a strong background in computer science and information technology. I would say I have around a year of experience or a year plus experience in the industry, mainly from contract itself, working on challenging projects that have, improved my skills in problem solving and software development. For me, I do have a background mainly in computer science and IT, but also I decided to teach myself about data analysis, data science, machine learning from different courses from Coursera, such as the Google Data Analytics certificate and the advanced one. Also another one from Andrew NG. I don't know if you've heard about him before. He has some courses that goes through deep learning and also machine learning as well. I did those courses. I was able to get a certificate. And then from there, I participated in my time as a mentor in WiDS here. I also participated in some of the, let's say, competitions they had on Kaggle. And so here I am today to teach you all about data cleaning and the process of data cleaning with Excel, and also hopefully transition to Kayla onto how to use the data that is cleaned in Power BI. Some random facts: I have my BSc in computer science, and I have built dashboards with RAG systems, so some Streamlit, Power BI, Tableau, LangChain, LangGraph, Pinecone. I'm also a full stack developer as well too sometimes, and I prioritize production readiness. I have also actively practiced and favor deep structured technical explanations, and I'm interested in philosophy, cognitive psychology, chess, movies, languages, anthropology, sociology, and architecture, both in software architecture and architecture as in the buildings. And that'll be it for me.
Nice, nice. Thanks for that, Nicholas. And one thing Nicholas did not mention is that for the past few years, Nicholas, I don't know if since 2022 or 2023, he has been involved with WiDS as a mentor and also taking part in the global challenge on Kaggle. So one of the things we will tell you all is that for those of you who may be beginners as well, and you're hearing a lot of like from both Kayla and Nicholas about their backgrounds in computer science, hopefully that's not too intimidating, because you can go into these free challenges online and take part in it and build your skill sets as well. So that's part of why we also provide this type of support for those of you who may not necessarily have those formal training and want to be able to advance in your field. So really happy to have these two experts today to share with you. So I'm going to pass the floor over to them and they will get the activity started. Just to remind you in the chat, the workshop folder for those of you who would have missed it in your emails or probably registered after the fact. So take the floor to the colleagues, Kayla and Nicholas.
All right. Good day, everybody. I'll be the first one taking the floor. Just give me a couple seconds to share my screen.
Sure. And Tamika is another one of our mentors in the chat, so she's also sharing resources as well.
Just let me move everything to the side. Yeah. See if I could just. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, good morning. Sorry. My name is Nicholas Smith, and I'll be one of the mentors here doing a quick introduction into data to dashboard series using Microsoft Excel and Power BI. The other speaker will be Kayla Boyce, and she'll be showing you how to use the clean data set in Power BI to create some interactive and fancy dashboards. This is an upskill workshop, and it's the second part to the first one that we had last week, March the 7th. And that first one, where I showed you how to go through the data analysis process in a notebook and then create a Streamlit dashboard and deploy it. We also had our other mentor, Leslie Ann, and she gave you an introduction into the Titanic data set. So today is me, Nicholas Smith, data cowboy. I'm a software engineer, IT and computer science. And then Kayla Boyce, she's a data alchemist, data analyst, and computer scientist. Our today's agenda. So first 5 minutes was the introduction towards TT. The second 30 minutes, or the first 30 minutes will be about data science, data, and dashboards. This is an approximation. So we are working with data, and this is our best guess as to 30 minutes. It may take a lot less time, or maybe a little longer, but this is a nice approximation of the time we have for each agenda. After that, we have the live demo, data cleaning in Microsoft Excel. That'll be from me. And then we have the live demo, data visualizations with Power BI, and that will be Kayla. By the end of this workshop, participants will learn how to load and explore real economic data, clean and reshape data sets, create meaningful visualizations, and build a dynamic Power BI dashboard. So as a data scientist or data analyst or anybody working with data, we have questions, a lot of questions, and these questions need to lead to discovery. Our first is the introduction to data science. What is data science? What is data? What are dashboards? Intro to the data set, how to start, where to go, the data set, whatever it could be, and then the dashboard, what we're all here for, hopefully. First part, introduction to data science. What is data science and why data science matters? First, before we ask ourselves what is data science, as the name suggests, it's data science. So we need to figure out what is data and maybe even ask ourselves what is science, because it's a combination of both of them. So what is data? This is usually a facts and statistics collected together for reference or analysis. And by itself, it is just a piece of information. And I think that's an important thing to note there. It is a piece of information. So do not get confused with data and information. Data is the raw facts and information is the data given some analysis to it. So it's simply, so think of it like, you can think of it like an ingredient before cooking. I think that's a basic analogy of it. On their own, they mean little, but combined and processed, they usually tell a story or create some good food. Data can come from everywhere. Sales transactions, customer forms, sensors, social media surveys, and also social media itself. Not only can it come from these different mediums, but data can also come from humans. I think that's the underlying main part it comes from. Whenever we ask questions or make assertions or assumptions or statements, this is essentially data that we are creating. Raw data alone is not technically insights. It needs to be clean, structured, and interpreted. So I guess this is a nice thing to talk about here, that raw data alone is not insight. It needs to be clean, structured, and interpreted. In my opinion, when we are younger, especially from a young age, let's say around the time we start to talk, we usually ask questions a lot, right? And then at that time, we are essentially doing what you would call the data analysis process, but not in a structured form. As children, we ask questions to find answers because we are still learning, the beginning stages of our life development. And we ask questions to gather data and then come to conclusions. So even as in our young age, we are essentially practicing data analysis, but not in a structured manner. So a quick question. Is a single number considered data? I'll ask this question and anybody in the chat can give the answer or they can unmute and speak. The question is a single number considered data?
You want to give an example, Nicholas? What do you mean? Like a number, like say 25, 35?
Yeah, any number. So if I just say 1, do you think that can be considered data? If I say 2,
Anyone wants to take a shot at it? Ashley says no.
okay. It depends on the context, but I would say yes. Even one data point can be considered data, but it needs context.
Maybe Ashley, you want to tell us why you said no? Because I am actually interested to hear your take.
Yeah,
well.
I said no because it had no context.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is a good answer there. No, because it has no context, but also you can say yes, you can have like an argue or debate on that. So if I were to say we had 32, there's no context around that. It is very vague, not enough information to make a conclusion. But if I say 32 degrees Celsius, then we have understanding that this 32 degrees Celsius is a temperature reading, and this is data. But not even one point gives us enough context. The real value comes when we have many data points together. Another question, I'll answer it. What's the difference between data and information? So data is raw and unprocessed. Information is data that has been organized and given context. So for example, 150, in my opinion, is data, but then 150 sales in January is information. So we have different forms of data, different types of data. Now moving on, what is data science? This over here. But before we move to that, we can share some questions, some typical questions that I think are beneficial to anybody that starts off with a new data set they have. We have source and reliability, where this data came from, when was it last updated, and is it credible or trusted? We have structure. So what format is it in, wide or long? We'll learn some more about that later on. What does each row represent, and what are all the columns we have? We also have quality. Are these missing values? How many? Are there duplicates? Any obvious errors or outliers? To answer some of these questions, we will need to go into the exploratory data analysis process. Then we have context. What does each variable mean? What are the units? Any data dictionaries available? Hopefully they are. Within the Kaggle competition, there usually are data dictionaries available for you. And then 5, is it fit for purpose? Does this answer my research question? Do I need to transform or clean it? And what insights am I looking for? Sometimes when you start off with a new data set, you get lost with what question to ask. And I think these are good questions to start off with the data analysis process. The types of data. We have numerical, categorical, date, and text. In numerical, this is your sales amount or temperature, and it's used to calculate averages or trends. So the sales amount, you can calculate averages from that. Then from the temperature, you can calculate the trends. From categorical, we have coffee names or countries. It's used in grouping or comparison. You also have date and time. This is your transaction dates, and you can also use this for time trends and also seasonality. And then text, you have customer reviews, and this can be used in sentiment analysis. Just to give you a brief on Excel. In Excel, the data type affects the formatting and formulas. So a number stored as a text won't be able to sum correctly. And similarly, in Power BI, data type affects what visuals are available. Dates usually unlock time intelligence, and numbers unlock aggregations. So I do have like a quick question here. Why would a number ever be stored as text? If anybody wants to take a chance at answering that. Why would a number ever be stored as text? I'll give a couple more seconds if anybody wants to answer. If not, I'll go ahead and answer. Why would a number be stored as text?
Anybody has any ideas? Doesn't have to be exactly right, but just like what ideas? What are you thinking when you hear that? Any ideas at all? And these are the building blocks that would be important for when you actually go from like the data that you have into Power BI. Some of you may know already, but for those of you who may not, anybody wants to take a guess?
I'll take a guess.
Sure.
Sure.
Yes, Ashley, go ahead.
I was just thinking when you wouldn't want to use it in the calculations.
So that
Okay.
is correct in the sense of if you have numbers, let's say in the format of a date. So there are different formats for days or dates. You'll have the month, day, year, and these are numbers, but these should be stored as text because you want to use it in calculations for like addition, subtraction, or aggregation. And also somebody had contact numbers can be stored as text or zip codes. That is correct. If it is something like an ID number that is used for calculations, that is also correct. So this happens more than you think when data is exported from another system. You would have IDs, as somebody mentioned. You'd also have phone numbers, and you'll also have the dates as well. These may come through as text, depending on how the system exports it. Also, if they are like stray, space, or letter in a number column. So we need to be aware of these different ways that numbers can be represented, because Excel will treat the whole thing as text itself. This is a common cleaning issue that you would have to do if you get into data analysis. What's the most problematic data type to work with? And it was mentioned before what I said, dates. So dates and times cause the most headaches. Different systems formats date differently. So sometimes you would have the day, month, year, like that. Or months, day, year. And in some rare cases, you will have the year, monthly. So it can be a bit troublesome to work with date and time. And if you're working in Power BI and Power BI misreads the format, all your time-based visuals will break. So you always want to verify the date format before or during cleaning. Okay, good. Talking about date formats, we have two that we'll be working with for this data set. We have wide versus long. Now, data can be structured in these two main shapes, and Power BI strongly prefers one of them. We have one format, wide format, where each variable, as you see here, each variable has its own column, and it's easy to read as a human, like a spreadsheet you'd show a manager. And then afterwards, we have the long format. Each row is one observation and one column for the category, one for the value. This is better for analysis and visualization tools. So if I go to next slide, we have our wide data on the left side here. And here you can see country. Then we have the years, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. This is in your wide format. The long format or the long data on the right side, each row has one observation. So you can say the observation here is for Belgium within 2017, which is the year. The value is 69,8. And this is the difference, give you a visual idea of it. This is the difference between wide and long form data. Now, Power BI and most visualizations prefer this long form or long format because it's easier to filter, group, and aggregate dynamically. In Excel, you can use Power Query to unpivot the columns, and that is what we'll be using later on. Now, the next one. What is data science? You can just quickly go through this, and then we can move on. Now, data science, this is the art of turning raw data into useful insights that help us make better decisions. It covers a full pipeline. And this pipeline is, first, you'll collect data, you'll clean the data, analyze it, visualize it, and then from visualizing it, you'll make some decisions. So I know I mentioned data science and this is the pipeline, but it's not just for data scientists. Anyone who works with data is doing a form of data science, including what we're doing today in Excel and Power BI. Data science usually answers business questions like which products sell the best or which product sells the best, where are we losing customers, and what will next quarter look like. The tools may vary because sometimes we have Excel, sometimes we have Python, sometimes we have SQL, Power BI, Tableau, and a plethora of other tools that we can use, but the thinking process is the same. Now, a quick question. Do I need to know how to code to do data science? Anybody want to take a guess at that question? Do I need to know how to code to do data science? It depends. Okay.
Can you repeat the question, Nicholas? Do I need to code? Know how to code?
Do I need to know how to
Yeah.
code to do data science?
Okay. Tanika, can you put that in the chat just in case anybody
Yeah,
missed it?
it's in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, yes. Thanks so much.
Okay, good. Depends on the complexity of data or how messy it is. Good. And it also depends. Those are good answers. So the answer, not necessarily. Tools like Excel and Power BI let you do some powerful analysis with no code at all. Coding, so in Python, R, or SQL, comes in when the data gets very large or complex, as someone said here, but the fundamentals are the same. So there's a pattern here. We use different tools to do analysis, but the fundamentals of problem solving ring through for all aspects of data analysis, data science, machine learning, whatever the title may be. And next one, where does Excel end and Power BI begin? Don't expect anybody to answer that. I'll give the answer. So Excel is excellent for cleaning, exploring, and transforming smaller data sets. That's the key there. Power BI takes that clean data and turns it into interactive, shareable dashboards. They complement each other. And the key thing there is Excel is excellent for smaller data sets. I believe the maximum, if I remember correctly, before your machine starts moving slow, is about 1 million rows of data. I think in Excel, you can smoothly interact and clean a data set with 1 million rows. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Anything above that, however, would slow down Excel and you'll be very frustrated. There are other tools that you're able to use besides Excel to do large or big data analysis. There's Snowflake. There's also some services from AWS and Google Cloud Platform and other platforms for big data. But Excel is perfect for smaller data sets. Next question I have, what's the most important step in data science? Most practitioners in data science will say data cleaning. This takes up roughly about 60 to 80% of the time. There is a saying of garbage in, garbage out. If your data is messy, your dashboard will be misleading. That is why data cleaning will take up a large portion of your time. And here at the end, I just have a real world example. Coffee shop analyzing which drinks sell best on rainy versus sunny days to decide what stock. So Rituals or Starbucks, they want to analyze which drinks sell the best on a rainy day or sunny day. some skills we need to have as a data scientist. Now, this is just my opinion, but I also did some research online from a couple of the job postings, and these are a couple of the things that show up multiple times in the job postings. If you want to get into the data science field, you will need a degree. You will need some skills in Python, R, and SQL. You will need to understand data in all its forms, so modeling, analytics, and EA. You need to also have the ability to explain complex topics to non-technical stakeholders. You also need some cloud skills, and I didn't mention some of these cloud services before: AWS, or Amazon Web Services, GCP, Google Cloud Platform and their services, and then Azure. This is Microsoft Cloud Services. Also, you need to have some skills in Microsoft Office. So Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and also Google Sheets. Excel, I think I spelled that wrong. I could fix that before. You have Excel. This is for your data cleaning and data analysis. We have Word as well. This will be for your report writing. Then we have your PowerPoint. This will be for the different presentations you want to create based on your analysis to present to stakeholders. We also have dashboards, some tools, Tableau and Power BI, and also artificial intelligence. Now, next section, we are introducing the data set. We're going to be working with economic indicators data set. It's the sources from the World Bank Open Data, and the key indicators we're using are GDP growth rate, inflation rate, and unemployment rate. So just give me 2 minutes to get everything set up for this next section here. You should have access to the resources. Once you get the link to the Google Drive, it should look something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Addison.
This is fine. Yes, this is it.
Yeah. So you will have the data sets, the resources, and some extra resources. See what it looks like here. Power BI setup, data cleaning, formulas and DAX, Power BI cheat sheet, data science essentials, and data science resources from here. The data sets will be here. We have the clean master form. This is the spreadsheet or Excel sheet that we want to have at the end of the cleaning. Then we have the raw data sets from here. So I'm going to go to this folder and download each file. I'll just make sure and go to the folder that I want it downloaded in. I will just call this practice cleaning, spell that correct, V2. Then I see. Go through again, download, navigate to where I want to save it, save. And save. Once you have that downloaded, you can go from up here. Google Chrome provides this good user experience here. You'll be able to select it, select the folder icon to show in the folder. If you don't have that, if you're using a different browser, you'll just need to go to your file explorer and navigate to the folder you downloaded in. Let's open up one of these Excel sheets. You just click enable content. I don't want to sign in. Now, hopefully everyone is up to this point. If not, you can just follow along by watching the video. And at the end, you should also have access to this recording, so you can always go back and take your time and follow along. But the first thing we see here, we have the raw data at the bottom. This is one of our worksheets. A second one is the metadata countries, and a third one is metadata indicators. This gives us some information on the indicator name, the source note, the organization, and that's about it. What we'll be working with is the raw data. But what we're specifically going to work with within this raw data is for Trinidad and Tobago. If you want to work on a different country, you can follow the same steps that I'm going to do, but just use the country name instead. Before we go ahead and filter out, we want to hide some columns to make it easier to understand. But before we do that, as with any best practice data scientist or data analyst, we need to make a copy of the worksheet we're working with. So if you go down to the bottom here, right-click on the raw data, and you can say move or copy. You're keeping it here, and you select create copy. That's okay. Now, as you can see, we have two versions. We'll call this copy, or give it some meaningful name. Raw data to clean, or whatever you decide to name it, and we'll be working on this one. We will leave this one as is, because it's best practice to not interfere with the raw data you're working with, just in case you do some sort of wrong cleaning or manipulation of the data on the actual data set. You want to be able to go back to the original without any issues. So if I go through, let's say, this data set here with the original one, and I make any changes that I didn't mean to, and I'm not sure how to undo or go back, if I did not make a copy, I would have to go and download the raw data again from wherever I got it from. So what we did was create a copy, and we'll be working on the copy itself. Next steps, we're going to make sure our mouse is highlighted on the left side row here. You're going to control and left click, and left click, and then right click and select hide. We don't need those rows because what we are specifically interested in is the country and these different data points here. Okay. Now, we're going to left click and select the row for country name, country code indicator. These are our headings. And then we will select at the top here within the ribbon, data. And then we go and select filter. Once you select filter, these drop downs should show up. Hopefully they show up for you. If they don't, just let me know in the chat. Once these filter drop downs show up, we can select the drop down arrow underneath country name. And then we could search for Trinidad. Make sure Trinidad is the only thing selected. When you press OK, we will see it filtered out for Trinidad's information only. Hopefully that wasn't too complicated. If anybody was lost or want me to go through again or re-explain anything, just let me know. I'll give you a couple seconds to state in the chat. Okay, hopefully everybody's following along. Before we move on, I'll just open up the other two Excel sheets. Have it over here, select this. Good, and we'll just follow the same process we did with the first Excel. So, control click, control click, control click. But one thing that we forgot to do was make sure and create a copy of it. right click, move a copy, create a copy, press OK. You could rename this, right click on it to rename it. And we do the same thing over here. Good. Now we have the data prepared. We are in the GDP data raw Excel sheet here. We control left click, control left click, control left click, right click on the first row, and then press hide. Afterwards, we select the first row. This is our headings. Select data, filter. Go here, search for Trinidad. Deselect it, then select Trinidad only. Press OK, and we have Trinidad here. Go to our last one, do the same thing. Control left click, right click, hide. Select the first one with the headings, data, filter. Deselect all, and let's make sure Trinidad is selected. And we have our data prepared for the next steps. Now, the next steps we need to do, if we look at the data here, we can see from 1960 all the way to 2000 has no data. This is not important for us, so we don't want to have this in our final data set. What we'll do, look at the other Excel sheets we have. So GDP, you can see something different here. We have 1960, has no data, but 1961 has data all the way up to the end. And then we open the last one, unemployed. This is another interesting predicament we have. From 1960 as well, has no data, all the way up to 1991. So the common denominator here, or the Excel sheet that we should use as our base point, is inflation. Because inflation has data only starting from 2001. The other two Excel sheets, they have data from before that. So we want to make sure all the dates here or years line up. So since this is a common denominator and it starts from 2001, what we're going to need to do is hide the other columns from, you can go from C or you can go from C or D. You go from D. So we're going to highlight all the columns from D all the way up to 2000 and hide it. So all the years are aligned correctly. So what you can do is go to the column, select it, and just drag across. And we do the same thing, right click and hide. And here we go. Now I can just quickly do the same thing for the other Excel sheets. Two thousand one, 2001. Then our last one. And there we go. Now all the data sheets are aligned from 2001 here with country code and country name. 2001, country code, country name, 2001. And they all go up to 2004. Now everything is aligned correctly. Next thing we're going to do is just copy. So Control C, make sure you use left click, Control highlight, or left click, Control the first row, which is 4, and the other row, for me it's 247. Once you left click Control both of them, you press Control C, you would go to the bottom here on New Sheet, and then paste it. You will just call this semi-clean data. Reason we're doing this, because here we hid the rows, and inside of this copy, we just have the specific data we're looking for. Now we'll just do the same on the other sheets. This is the unemployment. I'll go here. Anybody have any questions while I'm doing this? No questions? Okay.
Before you go
Now
on,
we have
Nicholas, I wanted you
Yeah.
to just mention the importance of why you're doing this before we go into Power BI, just to give some context.
Sure. So while we're doing this, we're making sure our data is clean, and we're also making sure we have the correct data that we want to use to make the visualizations in Power BI. So before what we did, we hid all the columns that was not important to us. We filtered for the country that we wanted to get data on. And then from there, we made sure and make a copy of that same data that we want to use within Power BI. That's what I did on this side here. After I hid the columns and the rows, I just copied the data from here, made a new worksheet so I could have and work from here. And you want this data to be in a specific way, specific format, and you want specific data that you're going to use to answer your question. And for us is to make visualization on the economic indicators for Trinidad and Tobago. Good. Now, as we have this data prepared here, we can go ahead and make them a table. So we can click on the left square at the top here. I believe that would give an issue. So etc. Okay. Once you highlight that, once you are in the data tab, which is at the top here in the ribbon, there will be a from table range option here. You'd select this. Give me a couple seconds. I'm moving slow. And then you could see what it's trying to create a table from. If you have this selection, this will be wrong. So what we're going to do is state A1 2 I can make this and let me see if this works. I mean, it is sober. Okay, good. It works. So once you provide the range, and the range is of the format $, column name, then row, or column letter, then row, then the colon, column $, column letter, and then row again. And that's how you specify the range. And you wanted to specify that our only range is from A1 all the way to Z2. And we made sure and select the checkbox to state that we have headers. Good. Now that we're in this Power Query within Excel, we can select the first column, select the second column. Good. Once you select the first column, which is column country and country code, we're going to do the same control left click on country name and control left click on country code. Then right click on country name and select unpivot other columns. Once you do that, we went from one format to the next. Anybody can give me any ideas of which format we go in before and what we transformed to now? So just to show you again, we had wide data and then we have long data. Yeah, correct. So now we went from wide data to long data. You can update the values in Power Query. So we want to update attributes to give it a year to make sure it's consistent. So we double click on it and type out year, capital Y. Now the year is stated ABC. This is text. For us, it'll be a whole number. So we just go have our mouse over the 1, 2, 3 or ABC. When you left click on it, this drop down will show up and that will allow you to change the type. If you want, you could also right click on the year. This drop down, another one will show up and then you see change type is here. You go, another pop-up will show up and then you're able to change it from here as well. You can leave this as value. You can just check. This is decimal. Yep. And that should be good. Once we're here, we could close and load. And here we go. We have one of our Excel sheets prepared in long form data. And we can just quickly go through to the other two and repeat the same steps. So I go to the inflation, data from data table range. This is wrong. So this part here is Z. So $A, $1, colon, $Z, and then $2. Make sure my table has headers is checked. Press OK. And we end up back to Power Query again. Control left click, Control left click. Unpivot other columns. You select ABC here, or right click, change type, whole number, double click, change the name, yeah, just to verify it's decimal. Go up to the left here underneath file, and it has close and load. You select close and load. And here we are again. And then our last one, GDP. Data from table range. The correct table range is set here. My table has headers, press OK. Make sure there are two highlighted here. Right click, unpivot other columns. Double click, yeah. Change the whole number. Close and load. And then we have our data prepared for us. Hopefully that wasn't too fast. And hopefully everybody was able to follow. Next step, what we're going to do, since we should have Excel installed, we can open up a new Excel sheet here. And then we can go to File, or from the ribbon up here, in Data, we can go to Get Data from here. So select the drop-down for Get Data, from File, from Excel Workbook. Then we need to navigate to where we have our Excel. That'll be here. I'm going to select first one, GDP, import. And if I remember correctly, GDP table 1, 2. So this one here. And when you click load data, it will show up on you right here. Go through the steps again. Wrong one. Data, get data from file, from Excel. Inflation, import. I believe it's this one. Just verify. Table 1, yep. Here we go. So we're loading our tables here, and we're loading it because at the end, we want to take this data and merge them together or append them. Go through the same steps, data, get data from file, from Excel, unemployment, import. I believe it's table underscore 1. Just verify. Yep. Then load. Mhm. Great. Now we have everything set up to merge the data sets or the tables together. If you look at the top, we have the table design and query. You can select query, and this ribbon will show up for you. Underneath the combine, we have merge and append. We'll select append. Once we select that, we have 3 or more tables. So we make sure and select this first. We can see it's already added one first. So we just select the other 2 that is not there. We left click under available tables, left click the table, select add. Select the next one that's not there, select add, and then press OK. Once you press OK, Power Query will show up, and this is how our data looks like in the end. We should have 72 rows of data. And once that is done, we can select close and load. And once you do that, there will be an append 1, which is our new worksheet created. You'll just rename this to master data. And then make sure and save the file. So I just press Control S, select from a drop down. Power BI is in the folder. Just make sure I'm in the correct folder. And I'll call this master data file. Save. And once that is saved, we have finished our cleaning process. And then from here, I'll hand it over to Kayla to go through the Power BI visualization.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Nicholas. It was really great. Taking that raw data into the completed, cleaned master spreadsheet. So I'm going to take over from here and show you guys how to take that completed data set and turn it into a beautiful dashboard with all of your complete charts and visualizations for final presentation purposes. So to start, we're going to go ahead and open up Power BI, but I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay. I'm just going to hide the meeting controls here. Okay, everyone. So we do have the completed master sheet for you to just download if you'd like to just follow along from this point. And I'm also going to show you how we can also transform and clean the data within Power BI itself, because it's not something that is limited just to Microsoft Excel. To start, you do need to have Power BI downloaded. So just in case you don't have it downloaded as yet, if you do use Windows, you can head into the Windows Store, Microsoft Store, and download it from here. And you'll just have to click download. Since I already have it downloaded, I'm just going to go ahead and have it opened. Okay. All right, here we are. So this is what Power BI looks like when it first starts up. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and import that data sheets. Now, before I open that completed master sheet in Power BI, I just want to quickly run through how you can quickly transform those raw data sets into the completed sheets, because Power BI has its own Power Query function. So I'm going to open the first raw sheet here very quickly. And this is the one for the GDP data. So you hit transform. And of course, you can stop me at any time if I am going too quickly. So here we have the completely raw data sheet. The first thing that I think when I see a data sheet looking just like this is I need to narrow down on some of the noise. Just kind of get rid of what you don't need on this sheet so that you can work with what you need to. So the first two rows, we don't need them. So you click on remove rows at the top here. Remove the top rows. And we're going to remove the first two rows. Okay, and now for the columns, we just have to quickly evaluate which columns we don't need here. Just as you would have seen with Nicholas, we did make it clear that you don't really need to use any of the data from the years prior to 2001. So all of those columns before 2001, we're not going to be using. So we'll get rid of them as well. So we're going to get rid of country code, delete that one. And we're going to start from column 4, go straight down to 2001. So we can shift click and hit remove columns. And here we're just left with the data that we need from this data sheet. What you may notice is that the first row is actually the header row, but it does not match up how it's supposed to. So what we can do in this case, we can use this really helpful function called use first row as headers. So that fixed that problem for us. So now we're actually able to filter through for whichever country that we will be using. In my case, I'll be using Trinidad, but you can use whichever country that you want to. And here we have Trinidad and Tobago. Control click the first two, unpivot other columns to transform it into long formats. And here we go. Now we're just going to quickly do the next two sheets. So just right click on the left side here for queries, new query, Excel workbook. I'm going to grab the inflation data set and do the exact same things. And what you do want to make sure you pay attention to that for all the 3 queries, all of the column names match up exactly the same. It's very important for the creation of the master sheet at the end. So go ahead and import the raw data. We don't need the first 2 rows, get rid of them. Number of rows will be 2. Get rid of the get rid of the country code. And click on column 4, right down to 2000, which is column 45. Shift click, remove columns. Use first year as headers and filter Trinidad. Control click the first 2 and pivot other columns. Oh, and what I did forget to do, make sure that the query names match what they are doing. So this is the GDP data. This will be the inflation data. And the third one will be the unemployment data. So I'm just going to do the same steps one more time. I'm just going to go ahead and rename it right away. Remove the first 2 rows. Remove this column. Make sure that you have column 4 selected all the way down to column 45, I believe it was. Yeah. And delete these. All right. Use first row as header. Filter Trinidad. Control click the first 2. Unpivot other columns to transform again into long data format. So you're going to look at all 3 of these queries and ensure that you have the same column names. Everything is identical, of course, except for the data itself. Now, what I did notice is for the year column, the name remained as attributes, but we do need for it to, the column title to match what it represents. So we're just going to rename this to year. I just double clicked it, or you can right button click on this and click rename. And this also icon that says ABC. This means that this data is in text format, but we do prefer for it to be a whole number format. So I can just click on it and change it to whole number from here. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the other 2 data sets or the other 2 queries. Rename it to year. Click ABC, change it to whole number. All right. Once again, make sure everything matches up correctly. Amazing. It does look like everything is good to go. So at this point, we're going to essentially create the master sheet right here. So to do this, you just click on Append Queries. You can click on Append Queries as new if you do want to create a whole brand new query. However, I just need the master query alone, so I'm just going to click Append Queries as is. Use 3 or more tables. It already has unemployment data appended here, so I'm just going to add GDP as well as inflation and click OK. So here is the same master sheet essentially with all of the data here. You just have to quickly scroll through, make sure everything looks okay and good, and there we have it. rename this to master data sheets or master sheets. And click close and apply. It's just going to take a couple of seconds for Power BI to load in all of this data. And then when that's done, we're going to go ahead and start with the visualizations process, which is sort of like my favorite part of it, honestly. Here we have it. We don't need to see GDP data here, so I'm just going to hide it. And I'm going to hide the inflation similarly. So all I can see now is the master sheet. So at this point, you're going to think about what kind of data you have so you can decide what type of charts you're going to use to present this data to your stakeholders. The data that we're working with is data that it shows economic data over a period of time. So from the years 2001 to 2024. When I think about that, I'm thinking, I could use a line chart. That is a really excellent way to display that kind of data. So we can start with that and see how we feel about it. So just click on line chart on the right side here in the visualizations panel, and it's going to just show this really blank, generic kind of visual where you have to add in the data to start. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is what's really convenient is the whole drag and drop process that Power BI has. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to drag year into the y-axis. And I'm going to drag value into the x-axis. And if you're anything like me and you make mistakes a lot, Power BI is going to show you that very clearly because this does not look like what it's supposed to because I mixed up value and year. So you're going to put year in the x-axis and value in the y-axis. So now we kind of have something that looks like it's making a bit more sense. But what is really going to take it is the indicator. We're going to have that as the legend. So as you could see, the indicator kind of shows you the three different lines. The lighter blue, it shows the GDP progression throughout the years from 2001 till 2022. Let me make this bigger. The darker blue shows the progression similarly, and the same with unemployment. The first thing that I like to do, I like to kind of evaluate the chart that I'm looking at. So I don't really like the title that was auto-generated, nor do I like the name of the y-axis. I also kind of, when I'm creating charts, I like to use very distinct colors so that at first glance, it's very different to each other. I don't like that there's two blues on here when there could be a red instead or something very, very different. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that quickly. So we're going to click on Format Your Visual. And I'm going to start with the title. We can rename this to something like Economic Indicators over time. I do prefer the font Seagull, semi-bold. That works. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly edit the x-axis title. So just head into Visual, click x-axis, title. You can see that it was auto-generated. So what we can do is we can change it to something like indicator value, and it's going to be a percentage. You just hit enter. Oh gosh, sorry, I meant this for the y-axis. This is year, and this is for the y-axis that we'll be editing this for. Indicator value and percentage sign. Right. Okay. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to change the colors. Of course, this is up to your preference, what you think would be best. But in this case, I do prefer very, very different colors. So I'm going to start with the GDP color. I think that we can leave this blue as is. It's a beautiful shade of blue that stands out. So I'm going to, in series, click the drop down, click on inflation. Inflation is the darker blue. I can probably change this to a, let's see. Mm, I think that this shade of yellow is good. Similar with unemployment. It's orange and we have yellow already, so I'm just going to change this to like a deeper red. Well, this kind of orangey red. I think that these three look very, very different and they stand out beautifully. All right, so that was how we took this data and created a very basic, but a very informative chart to start with. But we don't, this dashboard is far from complete. It's just a chart on a blank canvas. We do want to make it complete and make it look something like this by the end of it. So here you can see we have a title added. We even have like a little slider where we can show all of the different years and have the line chart dynamically move accordingly with it. We can click on the different indicators, show which is which. And we also have all of the different charts that we can get into. So I can show you how we're going to do a bar chart, an area chart even, a scatter plot, and a live scatter plot, which is going to actively show how the indicators changed over the years in Trinidad and Tobago. It's really cool. Right up till 2022. And what I would like for you to do is, while we're doing this, I want you to kind of pay attention to how the data, like the trends and the patterns of the data over time, like from the years 2000 to 2005, what does it look like for this indicator? 2010 to 2022, what is happening here for GDP, or what is happening here for inflation? As you could see, the GDP has been fluctuating significantly over the years, but we're going to get into that more as we got along, and especially at the end. All right, so the next thing that I want to get started on, I'm just checking through my notes here. So getting it to this dynamic dashboard. The next thing that I want to do is do this title. So I'm going to make use of, similar to Excel, Power BI has its own kind of language that you can use to do calculations and formulas and stuff. So we're going to do just a little bit of it just to show you how we can include this in this dashboard. So I'm going to use it a bit for the title for the year calculations, right? So the first thing that I want to do, I'm going to click modeling at the top and click new measure. So that's going to open up a little text box at the top here. And I'm going to type out a very generic kind of formula. So I'm going to name it. I'm also going to copy and paste this in the chat for you if you'd like to see. So the name of the measure is going to be selected year range, which is equal to var min year master. Okay, hold on. Because I didn't import the sheets. Right. Load this in. Okay. All right, once again, I'm gonna click selected year range equals var min year equals min. I can use master sheets, but I prefer to use the master economic data here. Close brackets, var max year equals max, open brackets, the same thing, year, return, Trinidad. This is going to be the name of the title, Trinidad and Tobago Economic Trends. I believe that that's what I have here. Right. And here we're going to have the actual year. So open brackets, ampersand, min year, max year. And I believe that that should be it. Press enter. So that did populate in the wrong place on the right-hand side. So I can just move it over into where I want it to be. Okay, awkward, it's not moving. I'll just leave it for now. But the point is, I would now be able to, just as how I can drag and drop all of the different fields into the different visualizations, I can use this new method, this new measure, sorry, that I created, and I can have it added here. So we're going to go ahead and create that dynamic title. I would like to think about which type of visualization I can use to plug that dynamic title in. And for this, I generally just lean towards using cards. So this is what a card visualization icon is. Click on it. And here we have it. I'm just going to edit the size right away. I'm going to drag and drop that measure that we created into here. And let me edit it right away. So click on Format Your Visual. Into the Visual tab, we have all of the different ways that we can edit it. So this is up to you how you prefer to edit it. You can change the corner radius, you can change it into a rectangle or whatever the case is, but it wouldn't show since it's just a completely blank and white background. You can edit the border if you want. I'm just going to leave it a little blank here because I do prefer kind of simplistic, I do prefer a simplistic aesthetic. Okay, for now, I'm going to resize. The next thing that I have added is I have 3 cards with the different KPIs, well, the different indicators right in that little middle section. So for these, we do have to create 3 additional measures to calculate what they are. So again, click on modeling at the top, click new measure. This is going to be the one for the GDP. So I'm going to name it something like latest GDP. You don't have to overthink it too much. We're going to use the function calculate, max, economic value, close bracket, comma, master sheet, and this time we're going to pull indicator equals GDP growth, comma, and we're going to get year equals max, table year, comma, and comma again. So we have that GDP card visual measure created. I'm going to follow the same kind of formula basically for the other 2. So I can just copy this and paste it and just edit it accordingly. So this one would be for inflation. The indicator name would be instead inflation rates. Let me just double check and make sure that nothing else is different. And I think that that is good. And once more for unemployment. Copy that, change it to unemployment, and change the indicator name to unemployment underscore rates, and hit enter. So here we have the 3 measures that were added to the side. So now I am able to have the 3 cards added on underneath the title. So let me just make a bit of room for it. Adjust these. Okay, it's going to be 3 more cards. So I'm going to click on the first one and drag the GDP here, and it brings forth our calculation right there to see. Click on the background, do the same thing, and I can just probably copy paste and have the 3 added here. So latest inflation, drag that in, and then unemployment. Resize it so that it looks a bit more pleasing to the eye. And there we have it. You can do a bit of formatting as you go, but I do like to save the majority of the formatting coming towards the end when I already have all of the charts, cards, and whatnot added on to the entire dashboard completely. So something else that I want to have that I added on to the completed dashboard is the indicator, the year slider. So the year slider, and I do have the indicator buttons. So we can start with the indicator buttons just to show you what that looks like. So this is another type of visual that they have. Let me look for the right one. So they have button slicer, they have input slicer, a bunch of different slicers. But in this case, it's going to be a button slicer. What happens, you need to ensure that you click the background of the dashboard, because if you have a chart selected and you click on a visual, it's going to change it. So that's what I did by mistake. So I'm just going to hit Control Z to fix it back to a line chart. Make sure that I have the background selected, or I can press Escape and click button slicer so that it is created. Right? So we're going to drag the fields, the different indicators into the relevant fields here. So let's see again, have a look at it. It's the indicators, all the different indicators are in the different buttons. So let's drag indicator name into value. It is side by side. Again, it is up to your preference, how you prefer for it to look. If you do want to have something like this, where it is across the top of the screen and you can click and the line chart will obey to which indicator you have selected, you can do it like that, or you can have it like this, where it is off to the side. I do prefer for it to be off to the side. So in this case, you can play with the settings a bit to get it exactly how you want it to be. So I'm going to format the visual, slicer settings. No, that's not where it is. You can click on layout. You can have it to the top. You can have it centered. You can have the wording to the bottom. I prefer for it to be centered. For the buttons themselves. Right. I do have it as regular rectangles. For padding, can change it around a bit. Normal seems good. You can add a little border if you want. But most of what we're going to do is in general. So for the title, it's just going to be indicator. Indicator or indicator toggle. Change the fonts. You can have it centered if you want. Off to the side is okay. All right. I think it's kind of growing on me, having it like this. I'll keep it that way for now and I'll see. Okay. So next, let's look at what we have. We have the year slicer. Again, we're gonna edit this. Press escape. Okay. We can click on input slicer. Let's see. Here we are. Okay, and for the slicer, we just have the year. Slicer settings. You can have it as a drop down if you want. You can have it tiled and it'll just expand into this or however you prefer for it to look like. In this case, I do prefer for it to be an actual slider. I can leave the slider heading as is, but I do want to keep the font consistent throughout. Okay.
Just jumping in to ask if anybody has any questions or comments in terms of what Kayla has done so far. For those of you who may have used Power BI or any of you who haven't used it, let us know. I think Kayla has really been doing an exceptional job in showing you all the steps. But if there's anyone who has never used it, or if there's anybody who's more intermediate and wants to even add to what she's doing, feel free to let us know. You can continue, Kayla.
Okay. Okay, I see Elijah is following along in the chat. Of course, if you have any questions, you can also put on your mic to let me know if I missed out on the chats. Okay, awesome. Okay, see that it seems like everyone is following along really well. I'm glad to hear. Okay, so as for the year slider, I can leave this off to the side, the indicator toggle. I'm gonna change it. I can change it to horizontal, which is what it is right now, or I can change it to vertical, which resembles what I have. It is a bit weirdy, so I can edit this. Let me just... Sometimes, honestly, there are so many settings, it's really hard to remember where everything is. So even I, who have done this so many times, I forget the UI a lot. So it's completely fine if sometimes you have to like play around with and look around a bit and find stuff. That is understandable, it's normal, right? So yeah. Actually, yes, I will leave this as it is. I don't want a background. Hmm. Okay. All right. I'll leave it as it is for now. As I said, we can always come back and make any necessary adjustments and all the little fine tuning afterwards. But something to pay attention to as we're going along. What you want to do is you do want to make sure that the primary chart on your dashboard takes up the vast majority of the space. As I have it right now, the line chart is supposed to be the dominating chart, but it's not even taking up half of the screen. So I do need to edit this. Increase it in size. Get these out of the way. Increase it in size so that the first thing that you see when you look at this dashboard is this detailed presentation down at the bottom. Make sure and unselect this. It shows all of the indicators. I can make the year slider a lot smaller. Probably like that is good. Bring this across. The indicator toggle could be like this. Let's see, something like that. I did really like the layouts of the completed dashboard, so I can always refer to this. Something like that is what we're going for. Okay. GDP, inflation, and unemployment in the middle. Now we're kind of going into the part of the presentation where we're going to do the fine tuning now. I want this title to be centered. Now, because it's not like regular text, I can't just go in general and find the title to rename it because this is a dynamic title that we created. So I didn't type anything out like manually so that it would be an option here. You do have to treat this like it is a card. So in format your visual, make sure you have this selected, format your visual, click visual and cards. Well, the only one is selected year range. And in one of these settings, I should be able to see the title name to be edited. Let me look through very quickly. It's going to be one of these. Let's see. Value. Here we are. Yeah. So where I went into, it is actually in callouts rather than cards. So visual callouts. I can change the font here so I can center align. Right. Center align. I can change the fonts, make it bigger. I think that is good. 31 is good. That's an odd number, probably 30 then. Right. The label, this is that little smaller font at the bottom. This doesn't need to be so big, but we can have some, like, we can treat this, well, it's essentially the subtitle, right? In this, I just have it as the indicator name, so it's GDP growth, inflation rates, and unemployment. Let me just check here. Selected year range. I'm going to reduce this in size. You can have it at the top or at the bottom. To me personally, it should be at the top, the bottom, sorry, it should be at the bottom. If you wanted to have like a background or an image to go with it, you can make sure to toggle this on or off. toggle both of them on accordingly, but I don't want to have anything supplementing. As I said, I like to keep my dashboards very, very simplistic, very easy on the eyes. I don't like to have a lot of things on here.
While
So
you're
I'll leave.
on the cards, Kayla, I wondered if you could like show them when you click on a card and if you probably toggle with the slicers, how it changes, how you
Yeah,
see the information change. That would be useful as well.
yes. So since we have the year slider here already, when you move the slider, you can see that the chart is going to dynamically move and the data is going to change. So you can see that actively happening. Similarly, when you toggle the indicators, you can toggle just to see the GDP growth, you can just see inflation, and you can just see unemployment. So that is a function that is extremely helpful. It really helps when it says you're actually presenting your dashboard when you want to speak on just GDP growth. You can kind of speak on it and allow for the stakeholders just to see that data and focus on it. So you can talk about how vastly it has been fluctuating over the years. You can discuss how the inflation is steady at some points. There are steady declines, probably between the years 2014 till 2020, and how we see from 2020 onwards, probably post-COVID, how or during COVID, how the inflation kind of started getting on the rise between the years 2006 to 2000 and this would be 2015, how the inflation was greatly fluctuating between these periods. So that is what this is really perfect for. I'm not sure what I did, but I'll just Control Z. If you make mistakes like that, just Control Z and undo whatever you did.
And in the meantime, in the interest of time, I want to open up the floor for questions since we have about 10 minutes. So as Kayla goes along, anybody has any specific questions on what she has done or in terms of her experience using Power BI that you want to ask, she can also show you from her own portfolio. Kayla, I know you have a link that you can show them as well based on like an end product of how you would have presented this for your own portfolio towards your CV. So that's also something that you could show them.
Yeah, I can definitely show you guys that.
And I know you also mentioned I know some persons has anybody here use Tableau as well because she can also, if we have time, just quickly just show you a snapshot of how it could also look in Tableau. But she'll show you from her portfolio perspective, like an end product of these steps. And we have more about the report. We will put that into the folder for you all as well. But yes, Kayla, you can always show them just to give them a context from here. Since there are no questions so far on the dashboard itself, I know you have been doing an amazing job with the steps, very, very concise and clear and to the point. Very, very great. Yeah, excellent. So for those of you who are interested in like how you could build on this, and if you've worked on other dashboards, so what Kayla has done, she did this as part of a project, and she's going to show you a quick look at how she pulled it together for part of her own portfolio. So Kayla, you could show them.
Okay, yeah. To kind of get this from how it is right now to the portfolio, let me just align these very quickly. Just click Format, Align, and Distribute horizontally. Great. Okay. All you have to do is you click on File and Publish, and you publish to Power BI. Very important to save your changes. You do need to have an account, so we can save this as economic trends dashboard. and publish it to my workspace. Click select. But if I'm being honest, when it comes to the data cleaning and the visualizations, that is not the complete process for this. I'm going to show you what my completed project actually looks like with all of the insights and etc. And I can also have this uploaded for you. So let me briefly stop sharing my screen so I can get that.
Everyone here has downloaded Power BI for the participants who are still here. I know we come into the top of the hour, but just wanted to make a check to see if you all have. Reason why I ask is some of you may have it accessible through your institution, through the Microsoft Fabric. What she would have been showing you here is the desktop version. Okay, so Elijah, you have it installed. Who else? Ashley, what about you? Kaylon, Jade, I know Jahim and the yes? Okay, so you'll have the desktop version. Okay, great, excellent. From the institutional part of things, if you are an organization, sometimes you're able to access as well, and in some cases produce the reports. I don't know if in all organizations they allow you to share the reports because sometimes they want to keep those things under wraps and not want it to be shared externally. So that's also something. But Kayla is also able to show you. Kayla, I think you would have produced the report, but you would have actually had a website with your report, right? Like the static version.
Yes.
And if you're unable to retrieve it right now, we can also send it in the follow-up email after the workshop as well. But
Yeah.
it's really nice if it is that you want to move from the actual dynamic report into having like a static report where you have your visuals and those things. I think she's pulling it up here. That
Yeah.
will be something that we would suggest that you do. So for instance, right, so here's what she's going to show you now, like a really nice end off to that dynamic dashboard as to how she pulled it together.
Yes. So from Power BI, you can click export to PDF so you can have it in a PDF format. That turns it into a static form, right? But what I did honestly, I actually typed out all of my findings, my overview, the process from preparation of the data, of doing the EDA, and I took my visuals do look different, but I took actual screenshots of the charts to go hand in hand with my findings. So this is what something like that would look like for me. I'm still a beginner, honestly. I would still consider myself a novice, comparatively speaking. So it is still a work in progress for me, but I would still be more than happy to just show you and give you pointers on what I know so far. So I would have done the key takeaways and my references. Of course, all of this is open source data from the World Bank directly. So all of this data you can get online there. The GDP data, and the same goes for the inflation and unemployment. All of this is on here, the CSV files. And I also have the same projects on my GitHub. So I have my findings, the actual raw and cleaned data, and I have my planning here as well. So this actually carried me through my first project because I can link the skeleton or the template for this scope of work essentially, and you can use it as a guide as well to help you and guide you with your projects if you would like. So you have the purpose of the project, the scope and the project activities, things that you need to do and get done, and how you're going to do it. What the project does not include, so like limitations, deliverables, things that the project will be doing, things that you need to have done for this project, and schedule what you need to have done by what time. This is really helpful, especially in a professional environment. If you have to present your project to, let's say, your employer or stakeholders or whoever it is, you can present this scope of work to them and kind of set the expectations for the project in this case. And of course, the estimated date for completion based on the schedule overview and my milestones. So I have here, I estimated the completion date for this project would be 4 weeks from the start. Yeah, so that is what that would look like.
Great. This is wonderful. Thanks so much, Caleb. It really, really pulls together all the different elements and kind of shows like how you could go from just going from the data cleaning that Nicholas would have done and really understanding the elements of what's happening within the data. Then coming into what Kayla had talked about in terms of Power BI, going through. One of the things I will tell you all personally, and Kayla would show you as well, is that Power BI, you can sit there and toggle with it and learn a lot too, besides just having formal like trainings and webinars like this. A lot of what we do as well is just learning by trial and error. So as Kayla would have shown you sometimes with the font size, backgrounds, all these extra things you can also do as well. And in terms of the visuals, we also have some cheat sheets from other sources like DataCamp, for instance, and other places that provide public cheat sheets, as in like sheets that have little tricks and tips. We have those in the folder as well. And really wanted to kind of end off and say, Kayla has also shown you a really nice culmination from the dashboard going into the reporting aspect. Yes, and as Jahi mentioned, exporting it as a PDF is key. Remember, one of the most important things is that if it is that you have persons who are not using the software that you have to have mechanisms to keep those reports in a format that is easily shareable. So that's really a great one to add. And as Kayla also showed you her portfolio. I know we up on time, but Kayla, do you have any final words for them? And I don't know if you have any other questions or comments, but feel free to give us some final thoughts on the software and what your advice would be moving forward to persons using it.
Okay. For sure. In terms of Power BI, it can seem really intimidating to start, but that's why it's really important that you make use of your resources, even if it's other people, even if you need to reach out to ChatGPT or whatever AI platform. There are lots of resources on YouTube. Everyone has tutorials on TikTok, wherever. You can, whatever you're having trouble doing, you can look for it online and you will get the solution. You can also reach out to anyone for advice on what to do, because I didn't really have someone to teach me how to get this going. So if you have no idea what you're doing, that's fine. We're in the same boat, and there's resources to help you figure it out. It's really fun as well to kind of explore on your own and really get into the UI of the Power BI and just figure things out bit by bit.
Dylan, thanks for that, Kayla. Does anybody have any questions? I know we are at the top of the hour. I dropped a short 5-minute demo she would have also done. That's useful. We will send it in the package to all persons who would have attended. And if it is that you need a quick resource just to see how to follow some of the steps she shared here as well, you could also look at that short video to get some tips. And let us know if you want to see more Power BI. We would have done one last year as well, which was a hybrid one with inclusions of Python as well for persons who are more in the IT field. But if there are any of you who want to do more advanced functions and functionalities and want to see more workshops on Power BI or any other tools, feel free to reach out to us at widsttgroup@gmail.com. And we would really like to thank our speakers today. I know Nicholas would have had to leave because he has a class. But we would really like to thank both Nicholas and Kayla for really giving us this walkthrough from the data to the dashboard. As you could see, that was part of the upskill workshop name. And we're really happy that all of you were able to join us. So feel free to let us know what else you need on your data journey. And thank you once again for being here and being a part of this. Oh yes, sorry, Elijah. Tamika just, yes, she sent it there. And just one last thing. Keep up with us on our social media pages that we will also send. You would get them. You could go onto our widstt.com website. Tamika, you could also put that there. You would see at the top of the website, you'll have all the different handles for the different social media. We are on LinkedIn. We also on YouTube, of course, and Facebook. The YouTube link that I just shared is part of our YouTube channel, right? So if it is that you need any more information from us, or you want to be part of any of our other events, you could feel free to reach out. We will have probably a community event in April, and we will send out a notification on that then to talk about certain other aspects in the space, for instance, AI tools and whatnot, and see what persons are interested in learning. So thank you once again to everyone who joined today, and thank you again to our speakers and our mentors who were able to assist. And to our participants, we really value having you here and to be able to help you. And we will see you all in the next one. Thanks again. And Tamika has provided some extra links in the chat for our socials. Have a great day and take care.